All right, we'll return to the open meeting and begin our evening tonight with our pledge. Dr. Zambezi.
Superintendent Cordell, members of the board, thank you so much for having Lovejoy High School here to lead us in the pledges tonight. I'm Travis Zambezi, the principal of the school, and I have two wonderful students here that are going to lead us in that. The first of which is Karsten Dunn. Karsten is a junior this year and has lived in the district his whole life. Karsten is on student council and is a member of the fishing and football teams. He has an older brother, Connor, class of 2022, and two dogs. Next to him is Anil Dandekar. Anil has also been in the district his whole life. He's a junior this year and is on student council. Anil plays rec basketball, was on the Lovejoy tennis team his freshman year. He has an older sister, Maya, who graduated the class of 2022, and he has three dogs, and so they'll lead us now.
Now for our pledges. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And now for the Texas Pledge. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to the Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible. And now for a moment of silence. Thank you. You may now be seated. Thank you.
And we're going to get a picture.
All right, item 6, Dr. Tinsley, staff recognitions, principal appreciation.
I don't know, you've heard that she's going to be leaving us and going to down south to another district. She has received advancement, and we're super excited for her, but we're bittersweet for us here in Lovejoy, and we thank Wendy for her service to our community. Miss Megan Rollins, Sloan Intermediate School. Caitlin Eldridge, principal of Willow Springs Middle School. And Dr. Travis Zambezi, principal of Lovejoy High School. Our principals are impactful and valuable leaders who support our legacy here in Lovejoy and ensure that our students are receiving an excellent education. So thank you on behalf of the district.
I wanted to say a few words as well. I don't know if you know this, but being a principal is not very glamorous. May seem like it, but these incredible leaders are remarkably selfless, and it is not unusual for their morning to begin with whatever problem or challenge without anybody even saying good morning to them yet. And they handle it with such grace and such focus on staying student-centered. They also do a remarkable job of taking care of our staff and making sure their needs are met. It is humbling to know that we have their incredible leadership and integrity out on our campuses every day to make sure our students are taken care of and that conditions are created for our staff to do their absolute best work. We are humbled, we are grateful for all the days that we don't say thank you and for the million things that you do that nobody knows about that make a difference. Thank you. We also want to make sure that Wendy Kraft knows how deeply grateful Lovejoy ISD is for her impact. She's leaving us better than she found us. And we're so thankful for her time here in Lovejoy and wish her every success and new joys in her new role in Houston ISD.
All right, next up is introduction of new hires.
Good evening, board. I'm going to ask Travis Zambezi to come up. We, of course, here in Lovejoy have a long-standing tradition where we give our new hires a pen so they can write their next chapter of their life. Whoops, it's moving, sorry. And also an apple to symbolize that highly valued educator they are in our community. So, Mr. Zambezi, you want to start there?
Absolutely. All right. So really fortunate to have these staff members as part of our LHS family. And the first one that I want to introduce is a teacher coach who's done great things in journalism in the Red Ledger. That's Elliot Parkman. Just kind of make a line down there. Yeah.
Yeah, right over here. Yeah. You get your picture taken.
Next up, I'd like to introduce just an excellent educator. And not only does he do a great job with English, but he's our NHS sponsor, and that's Brandon Springfield. Really fortunate to have Carter Beasley, science and coaching 2 sports. Business teacher and also coaching 2 sports, Zach Zimmerman. Next, I'd like to introduce our new head tennis coach who's doing a wonderful job, Coach David Denham. Special education teacher who's doing an outstanding job for us is Cassie Kovac. Our new LHS counselor this year, Curtis McCarthy. Next up, special education teacher and coach, Coach Davey Salazar. And last but not least, our 504 testing facilitator, Miss Andrea Harris.
Any public comments this evening, Rodrigo?
No, sir.
All right. Item 8 is our invocation. If you would, bow your heads with me. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you so much for this evening, the opportunity to come and do the work of the district. Pray for blessings upon each of the folks here, their families. I pray for our leaders, and we give thanks for our principals tonight. And we just ask for you to give us the wisdom to discern through our opportunities tonight to help the school grow and do better. In Christ's name, amen. Notification items are in your book, 9A and 9B. Item 10 tonight is the consent agenda. Is there anything we need pulled for review? And if not, I'd entertain a motion.
I moved to motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved by Mark Willis, second by Amy Smith. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you very much. Item 11 is our celebration of learning.
We are excited tonight to lift up some of the great work that these leaders have been leading in the areas of professional learning communities. You've heard us talk a lot about the work that we've had our staff engaged in, training that we've been attending. We've given you some snippets of it over the past year. And I do have to lift up that I have to give a lot of credit to our campus leaders for ensuring that we're moving to the implementation stage, and they're doing an excellent job in leading this work. And they have a group of teachers on their campus we call a guiding coalition that are working side by side with them in the work too. So we're going to talk tonight, going to lift up what's happening on our two elementary campuses. So Ms. Haynes and Ms. Kraft, and then Aaron Perkins, our Director of Elementary Education and Early Childhood, are going to present to you some things so you can see what's going on.
All right, good evening. Like Dr. Tinsley said, over the last year or so, we've really done a lot of work to ensure that our campuses are equipped to do the work of professional learning communities. So we're excited tonight to be able to share what that looks like in action. So just as a quick reminder, I know that you have heard these three big ideas that really drive the work of a professional learning community several times, but we're always going to be focused on learning. We are going to be focused on collaboration and having a collective responsibility for all students, and we're going to be results oriented. And I know those are 3 of the 5 tenets of the culture here in our school district. So on the screen, you see just a few of the many things we have done over the past year or longer to, like we said, ensure that our campuses are equipped. We've attended trainings. This is a picture of our staff at the PLC at Work Institute, where we got to bring campus leaders and teacher leaders to attend a training. We've implemented tools such as Map Growth to ensure we have an assessment that can provide us with the data to track our students' growth and ensure that we're providing and responding to their needs. And then we've also, you heard Ms. Cordell speak about the goal that she has for our district, and that we've set as a department goal as well to ensure that we've implemented and developed a balanced assessment system. And this is just a few of the many things that our district has done to make sure that we're equipped to do the work. I want to share with you on the next slide quickly just a quote from a book called Learning by Doing, which is really a handbook for districts that are implementing PLCs. And this quote says that talking is not doing, planning is not doing, goal setting is not doing, training is not doing, even directing resources to support a plan is not doing. It is not until people are doing differently that any organization can expect different results. And I think that is exactly what you're going to hear tonight from our elementary principals. You're going to begin to hear some of the amazing work that they're actually doing on their campuses that are going to have a great impact on our students. So Ms. Haynes and Ms. Kraft are going to share with you each about their campus.
Good evening. I've been looking forward to this opportunity to share some of the work we're doing around professional learning communities at Puster. It is one thing to attend a training over the summer and learn all the things and get really excited, but it's a whole nother thing to come back in the fall and begin implementing out the gate. And so we found we had some teachers attending that training, and they were very excited and believe in the work that we were getting ready to do, but just struggled to take that first step. And so you'll see here, Miss Austin, our MTSS coach and lead on our campus, has really been instrumental in working with our teams and encouraging them to take that first step and take those risks. And then what you see in this messy graphic is where some of the structures that we've put in place this year, where they help our teachers with each of the 4 questions that they're tasked with answering to best serve our kids. So you'll see collaborative planning throughout. That's not new for our campus, but we are tightening up what that looks like. Are we truly planning collaboratively, especially when you teach all subjects all day? It can be very tempting to slide back into old habits and plan in isolation and come back together and try to talk about it. But that doesn't leave everyone at the table with the same understanding of what they're getting ready to do. So we've tightened up those structures and made sure collaborative planning is tight on our campus. Data Dig is really more than just digging into data, but we needed a clever name and a cute graphic, so that's what we came up with. But that Data Dig is a structured time on our campus that our teachers are getting about every 4 to 5 weeks. That the intent is, yes, to dig into data, but it could also be that we're focused on that leopard time intervention block. What are we going to do with our small groups during that time? Do we need to recalibrate our groups? But it is a structured time on our campus that our teachers haven't had in the past with that intent. You'll see on what do we do when kids aren't responding to the learning. We have a kid talk structure in place where that is the first stop for our teachers before we ever look at taking a kid to PSD, to problem solving team or other next steps. Let's see what answers we already have in the room. Maybe I had a child just like that last year, and here's something that really worked. So that is an intentional structure that takes place during team planning so that our administrators can get into each one of them. We also have built in 2 leopard times into our day. What that does is it allows students to receive intervention in more than one subject. A lot of our kids need math and reading or writing instruction. It also allows us to target pullouts during one of the 2 times, but still allowing that child who's pulled for another reason to still have an opportunity to get that good tier 2, tier 3 intervention during leopard time. Data Dig also helps us answer that question. Of course, our problem solving team helps answer that question as well. And then same for what if they've already got it? What are we going to do? We absolutely want every kid to grow a year's growth in a year's time, no matter where they come to us. So Kid Talk also helps us discuss how are we going to enrich for this group of students. Leopard Time, all of our grade levels have an enrichment group that serves students who need more. And of course, that Data Dig structure helps answer that question as well. So really the structures are what are helping us with doing the work of a professional learning community. That picture up, the big picture is Miss Austin leading those data digs. Those do take place in the morning before school starts. And a lot of us are on duty. That is Violet's role. She goes in and she helps lead that conversation. Our teachers do a really good job of being prepped. We have norms in place, come to the table with this, and we make use of every minute of that 40 minutes. And then you see she's also pulling some of our tier 3 groups. We have intentionally targeted first and second grade reading first for her support, knowing that we want every second grader leaving as a reader before they hit 3rd grade. Thank you. Any questions for me?
So something that was really powerful for us when we did go to the PLC conference last time is really they talked about some additional time, not only just your collaborative planning time, but some additional time. And it was really important to have it a part and built into your day. So something that we started this year is called collaborative learning time, and it's called CLT for short. And our teachers honestly get it about once every 5 days. We do skip Fridays because we've left that open for our PST process. But it is really intentional conversations that give us immediate results. And a key part of this has been our multi-tiered systems of support, Ms. Hicks. She's been fantastic. And I think something that I didn't realize the power in her position is that really it's not only multi-tiered system of support for our students, but it's also multi-tiered support for our staff. And that has honestly been really a game changer for us. So during that time, we kind of have two different things that go on. First, we'll start on our students. We do deep digs into our data. What is our data telling us? Why is that? What instructional practices aren't happening that is causing that data? And then how are we going to correct that? What are we going to do with students who already know it? And then our kiddos who aren't getting it, what are we going to do differently? We also do Kid Talks a part of that. And really we're setting goals for our students and creating action plans. And then that also just leads directly into us planning our leopard time. Intentional, explicit, research-based intervention that is something different than the classroom that's going to close those gaps for our students or enrich them and grow them so they're also being fed that way. On the teacher side of the house, I think this is probably the part that our teachers have been the most excited about and has been the most powerful. And we spent a lot of time on the first 9 weeks during that part of doing this, and it's really teaching best instructional practices, identifying weaknesses from our data, and then really putting it into action and giving teachers real life things that immediately they can turn around and do. And the best part of this is they get it modeled for them, and then they get to go in, and Ms. Hicks goes into their classroom and she models it again with their kids in action, and they get to see it again. And then they do it, this lesson that she modeled the first time with them, they do it and they practice it with her watching and giving them real-time coaching. It has been phenomenal. And the very best part of this is our teachers have identified some own weaknesses in themselves, and they've gone to her and said, hey, I need to work on this. Can you come help me? And then they've developed this plan. And so to me, that speaks volumes because it's not only growing our students, but it's also building capacity in our teachers. And when you build capacity in your teachers, then you are affecting every single child in their classroom. So I think that's really something that's powerful, and I'm very proud of our staff for the work that they have done. Next up, we're going to have our next little journey is going to be lab sites, and that is where during our collaborative learning time, we'll go into a classroom of we're going to target second graders first, where our first grade teachers will get to go watch Ms. Hicks do some second grade groups with the second grade teacher. Then we'll kind of come out, we'll talk about it, and then they'll get to go and practice with their students. So again, it's just this great coaching cycle, and we're growing all of our students and all of our teachers. Do y'all have any questions for me? All right, well, thank you very much.
All right. Thank you for that presentation. We really appreciate it. Item 12 is the 2023 Fine Arts Festival update. Mr. Parker. There we go. Rodrigo, while he's doing that, just remember to update the roll that Mr. Wood is present.
Good evening, board. I wanted to give you a little bit of an update and a presentation on an extremely important tradition that we have here in Lovejoy ISD, and how we're making a few shifts and changes to hopefully make it better than it's ever been. And so I've asked Ms. Ball, our fine arts specialist. If you don't know Ms. Ball, like I said, she doubles as our middle school band director, and she's come into this fine arts specialist position this year and has done a really great job with her communication, with the fine arts staff, with the boosters, with all things fine arts. She's done a fantastic job this year. So she's done a big part of this work, and I've asked her to come up and share a couple of things in this process. So back in the back in the summer, at the end of the summer, I would say July, August, we had a few people approach us, program directors, also some Booster Club members who said, can we just talk about how Fine Arts Festival is done? Can we just maybe rethink how we might want to do it? And so we listened to what they had to say. We were intrigued. We wanted to hear more about that. So we visited with the boosters. We visited with the program directors. We visited with principals. And what they expressed to us was a desire to increase community involvement. If you'll remember back in the past, gosh, how many ever years we've been doing it, it's all been focused on one day. And well, actually, we extended that to 2 days, a Friday evening as well. But once Fine Arts Festival started, it was intense. You go back to back to back, and it was very labor intensive, time intensive, and it demanded a lot out of the families to get their kids there. And it was a jam-packed day in a couple of hours, right? And so what they wanted to do was maybe rethink how we highlight our programs, maybe take a little step back to concentrate more time to that, and also better showcase the excellence in each one of those programs. And that's what we wanted to do. There were also some challenges in the current format. Because we're a smaller district, we have kids who participate in a lot of different activities. They may play on the girls' basketball team, and they may be in band. They may be on the boys' basketball team, and they may be in choir. And so they were pulled in a lot of different directions, especially when everything was focused on that one day. One of the other things that Fine Arts Festival has kind of taken a back, not a back door to, but it's been very hard to schedule that day because of football in the past. Football, we have 50% control over when we make it that far into the playoffs, what the schedule is on that Saturday. We could play the Friday night, we could play that Saturday, but it all depends on sometimes just the flip of a coin on when and where we get to play. Therefore, we've had Plan A on some of those days with football. We've had Plan B. Sometimes we've had Plan C. And so we don't want Fine Arts Festival to be predicated on what happens with football. So we wanted to see how we could improve the scheduling as well. So some of the feedback and discussion that we had produced a format where each program would have a night dedicated to that specific program, to where we could take some time, like I said, take a deep breath and really find out all the great things that are happening in each program, be able to highlight the vertical alignment from when a student enters that program to when they're competing or they're performing at the varsity level. And one of the things we want to do is maintain the holiday theme. We don't want to get away from the holiday theme that's always been present during the Fine Arts Festival. So what we talk about when we have program alignment for all of our programs, band, choir, orchestra, cheer, dance, theater, we want them to have a night where they perform, where the beginners begin the evening, that the varsity level performers in the night, and we can see what that alignment is throughout the evening. Our visual arts gallery has done this in the past, where they've had a K-12 gallery, and you can walk through the gallery and see this is what a kindergarten work of art looks like, all the way around to this is what our AP art students work looks like. And we want to be able to showcase that in all of our different programs so we can see the progression and the excellence that's worked so hard for by our directors and also our students. Not only that, we wanted to, in our visual arts gallery during that week or 10 days of our Fine Arts Festival, we want them to have a K-12 progression night or progression in the gallery, but we also want them to have a reception to where it is focused strictly on the visual arts that evening. We also want to highlight our elementary music programs as well. And so we took really Ms. Ball, and she'll talk about what that schedule looks like in just a second, took a schedule, got with the program directors from November 27th through December 1st, and they have chosen a night where they are going to showcase their evenings or their programs. And we also want to figure out what can we do, not only is it a benefit to highlight the programs, but what other benefits can this provide for us? And really what we can do is we can use this opportunity to grow our programs. We can focus down on the elementary kids, market this event to our elementary students and parents to have them come out and see what is it going to be like when your child gets to perform and participate in these programs. We also want to continue to build a bridge between the Heritage Ranch community and our school community. So we want to make sure that we market this event to our Heritage Ranch community as well. So the next thing I want to do is, I hope Lori, you're gonna have to give me that. I don't know why it's asking you for your, the what? Oh, I see. It doesn't have me. It's gonna ask me to verify. Because we have such a great technology department and secure technology. So this is what our Fine Arts Festival schedule will look like. And Marty, if you want to kind of take them through that, I'll try to make this a little bit bigger. No, that's great. Thank you, Marty. But one more thing I wanted to add is in the past, what we've really enjoyed doing is having a board member introduce each one of the performances. And instead, so because there won't be as many performances, there will be an evening of performances. We would like one of you guys to take one night and come up and introduce that program and kick off that night for that program. So I know Ms. Taylor will be in contact to get you to sign up for one of those nights. So we'd love to answer any questions if you have any.
All right, item 13, consider and act on the 22-23 independent audit and annual financial report.
Good evening. Tonight we have Mr. Carl Deaton here with the CPA firm out of Denton, who conducted our independent audit to review the audit with you.
You have a printed copy of the audited next front. I think you also have an electronic copy to look at. Hopefully, you have seen these numbers, and I just want to go over and hit the highlights of these. Thank you. These are the audited financial statements for the year ended June 30, 2023. At the beginning of the audit report is the independent auditor's report letter that basically says, based on the audit procedures we performed, it's our opinion that these numbers present fairly the financial position, the results of operations of the district for this last fiscal year. And you know, there are various funds that account for dollars of the district. So if you turn to page 24, you'll see the three funds that are considered major funds because of their size. The left column of page 24 being the largest fund, the general fund. It shows $46 million of revenue, $41 million of expenditures last year. Bottom line in that column, a $5.2 million increase in the general fund balance, up to a total of $16.6 million at the end of the year. That $16.6 million is equivalent to about 4.8 months worth of last year's expenditures, which is, as of this point, comfortably above the 3 months that I would always tell you need to shoot for as a minimum. Now, if you recall, the food service fund was moved into the general fund a year ago. The food service fund balance is close to $500,000 of this 16.6. It's restricted for food service. You factor that out, you're still at about 4.7 months worth of spending in that fund balance at the end of the year. Next to that is the debt service fund. That's the collection of the interest sinking taxes and the payment of bonded debt. You see basically about a break even in that fund balance, still $4.5 million of fund balance there, which of course is needed as of June 30 because you have payments coming up that were paid August 15th, which is before the next tax collections begin coming in. Next to that is the capital projects fund that basically is accounting for the spending of the last bond issue that you did or all previous bond issues. You see about $2 million spent this last year on various projects, dropping that fund balance or the unspent funds from $4 million down to $2 million at the end of the year. All right, those are the three major funds. And again, while the food service fund is buried in the general fund numbers, if you turn back to page 88, we still are required to put a separate page in the report showing food service compared to its budget that was approved. So on page 88 is where you can see the food service numbers this last year. And basically in that third column on that page, food service had a $52,000 profit this last year, ending fund balance of $470,000.
And good news, bad news, that 470,000 is too much fund balance. You are allowed to only have 3 months worth of spending, which would have been about $445,000 of fund balance at the end of the year. Matt McCarty, I believe, has already spent that much and more to get that fund balance down since the end of the year. But yeah, there was about a $25,000 excess there. Most districts have done very well the last 2 years in their food service fund, beginning with COVID, allowing all kids to eat free for a while. The federal reimbursement rates jumped up significantly for a while, came back down this last year, but still you see even a $52,000 profit last year. So it's good news in that Matt's got money to spend on equipment needs. It's bad news. He had to submit a plan to the state to tell them how he was going to get the fund balance down. So it's always paperwork involved in things.
But Carl, if we allocated more cost to it, such as electricity or the cleaning of the cafeteria, that would be lower.
Well, you can do that. That's difficult to do, like unless your cafeteria like have separate utility meters. What you're allowed to do and what's already been done here is you're allowed to pull out an indirect cost rate. The state sets a flat percent that you can pull of certain expenditures out and move money to the general fund. And that's already been done to get down to this 52,000. And it covers utilities, maintenance in that area, the time of business office personnel who take care of the food service books, things like that. All right, and then if you turn back a few pages, beginning on page 80 is where you'll see all the other funds of the district, the special revenue funds. There are separate funds for all of these various programs because these are dollars that the minute they come in the door, they're already restricted for a particular purpose or use. So this is where you'll find all of the most of the federal programs, the title programs, the special ed programs. On page 81, there are still several COVID-related programs. The numbers 279, 283, 284, 289, those are all COVID-related dollars that are have been granted and were spent this last year, as well as on page 82, that Fund 423 is COVID money. Fortunately, most of that is has come to an end because that's just extra headaches for your business office and having to figure out how to spend that money. Also on page 82 and 83, there are 4 new grants that came through the state this last year. The 424 Silent Panic Alert, the 426 Safety and Security, 429 some dyslexia funds, and 459 an autism grant. The numbers you see here are basically just a small portion of the grant that was spent this last year. These grants, I think 3 of the 4 have a good bit more money to spend this next year as well. So several other funds here that have all specific purposes in what they account for. All right, and then while I'm in the back of the report, at the very back of the report, if you're well aware, is what's called the federal awards section. Because you do receive more than $750,000 of federal funds, there are additional auditors report letters to talk about compliance with laws and rules and regulations and internal control over financial reporting. It all leads up to page 99, which is the detail of the federal programs that monies were spent under this last year. And I would point out 2 additional ones that are on this page that aren't detailed anywhere else up front. About 2/3 of the way down, you see a child care relief fund, $512,000. That's COVID-related money as well. That was to help out the child care program through the financial difficult times they had when COVID was at its height. And then toward the very bottom, under the food service, supply chain assistance. There was because of supply chain issues. There was federal money that came in to help account for cost increases and things like that related to that as well. So a lot of federal dollars received by the district. And by the way, there were no compliance issues that we ran across in the programs we had to look at that are disclosed in this section. Okay, so those are basically the funds of the district. Going back toward the very front of the report on page 17, when you combine all of the funds we just looked at, as well as the fixed assets and the long-term debt of the district, you get the totals that are in that left column on page 17, a consolidated asset and liability statement. I'm sure if you've been on the board, you know the bottom line on this statement is negative. It's been negative for a while because of all the teacher retirement, the TRS actuarial liabilities that we are required to record in this statement for related to retirement and healthcare. This negative $8 million is a $13 million improvement from the previous year, though. That was a negative $21 million a year ago. But I also need to point out that for the first time, right next to the district's numbers, you see the Foundation for Lovejoy School financial numbers. The foundation has just grown in size to the point that their numbers are significant, their financial numbers are significant in relation to the size of the district. And when that is the case, that's the case for really any what's called component unit of the district. If you had a booster club or a PTA that was this size, we'd be putting those numbers here as well. But relatively speaking, the foundation is of significant size to the district. So basically, you see a disclosure in the school district audit report of the assets and the liabilities of the foundation on page 17. And then on page 18 and 19, you'll see some numbers that basically show you that the foundation ran about $1 million of revenue and expenditures through their funds, through their nonprofit this last year. So those numbers have grown to the size that they needed to be disclosed in the report. And back in the footnotes, there's a 2 to 3 page footnote that talks about the foundation and just gives more detail. So just one point, I'm sure you saw that, I'm sure you realize that's new this year. And there are other school districts I'm involved in that we have to do the same thing. Louisville in particular. Louisville's foundation is large enough. Their foundation is included in their report. And so it's not by any means unique to the district, but really probably for your size, it's unique. You've got a really, relatively speaking, large foundation compared to the size of your district. You know, I'm sure you're proud of what they do. I do that audit as well. And so I see the detail from that side and the folks that work over there to generate all that money. And I think they were a little hesitant at first, wondering why their numbers were going to be in your report, but it's good news. It's just more full disclosure about the support that the district has for the things that y'all are involved in. So if you've got any questions about anything I said, anything I can answer.
So we received an unqualified opinion with no material weakness. Is that
Yes, it's called an unmodified opinion these days, but it's the same thing. What you think of as a clean opinion, yeah. They decided the word unqualified, that, you know, if you say somebody's unqualified, that gives a notation that, you know, they don't know what they're doing. So they changed it to unmodified.
Did you have the full cooperation of the administration team during the audit?
Yes. Yes. You know, this is the second year I've worked with Thomas, maybe second, can't remember. But of course, you know, his areas had a lot of turnover this last year. And so I relied a lot on Thomas because of Vicky being almost brand new when I was here doing the audit. But tell you, Thomas has, always been very cooperative, and, I didn't run across any issues. I had to cut Vicky some slack for really not knowing anything, being brand new, but I told her next year will be a different story.
And did you have any process recommendations for improvements?
Nothing to go to the board either in a letter or in the audit report. I always just have nitpicking things to visit with Thomas about, and that he and then folks prior to him have always been good in correcting, but no, nothing to speak of.
Okay, last one for me. Would you mind to re-explain that whole allocation of TRS liabilities that we're required to put into our financial statements? But it's not, we're not actually going to fund cash for it.
No, if you look at the teacher retirement system, they are billions of dollars unfunded, and which means theoretically they don't have the money to pay future commitments they've made. And what that's going to require likely is either them investing their money better, or districts and or participants, teachers, kicking in larger contributions in the future. But in theory, and again, in accounting theory, that liability is a shared liability of all the participants in the TRS system, which are all the member districts. And so of that multi-billion-dollar liability, the little bitty percentage that Lovejoy ISD is of the state participation as a whole, that portion of the liability is disclosed as a liability of the district. And the TRS retirement and the TRS health insurance liability numbers that the district has to pick up, there's 6 different numbers in that report. If you net them out, it's about $30 million. So if you take $30 million of liabilities off that statement, that bottom line is more than positive. And the TEA recognizes that. They do not ding you in the first rating or anywhere else for having a negative bottom line because of all those TRS liabilities that we have to include in the report.
So it'd be the same as requiring every private business to include Social Security debt on their books.
Yeah, or a portion of the $33 trillion national deficit that we have. Yeah, it's the same theory. Yeah.
One question for Thomas. So Thomas, any kind of adjustments that he made or reclassifications, are you carrying that forward on a go-forward basis? So hopefully that next year there won't be those reclassifications, if there are any.
Yeah, no, not that I can recall. I think there's a couple of things that we're carrying forward, which would be the student nutrition indirect cost rate. And then diving into kind of the grant side of things and the donations, diving in deeper into those and making sure that we're reclassing them and tracking them a little bit better than what we've been doing. So
awesome, great job. It's always nice to get the financials behind you and look forward to the next year.
Yes, absolutely. And I should also mention, Carl, said I was very cooperative, but Anna and her team were very cooperative throughout the whole process as well, and provided all the payroll information. So we were very thankful to have Anna support on the audit as well.
So with no other questions, if there are none, I'd consider a motion to accept the annual financial audit report as presented.
I move that we accept the annual audit report as presented.
Second.
So move Julie, second Mark, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Item 14, consider an act on a 23-24 budget amendment number 1.
Good evening, board. Tonight we'll be reviewing the proposed budget amendment number 1 for the 23-24 school year. As you may recall, during the presentation at the October workshop, we presented on the financial implications resulting from the change in the student attendance accounting handbook. We also mentioned during that presentation that we'd be bringing forward budget amendment 1 for you to review and to approve. This budget amendment that we are bringing forward does include the most recent changes resulting from the second special session of the 88th legislative session. So it does include both the decrease in the MCR, the maximum compressed rate, and also not the 40,000, but the 100,000, the increase to 100,000 homestead exemption. We're bringing forward the 100,000 to align with the certified roll that you had approved in the consent agenda. That certified tax roll represented a 100K homestead exemption rather than 40K. Additionally, as we shared in the October workshop, here are some items that are included in the amended budget. So the very first three are recurring hits or benefits to the district. So we're capturing that not only in the 23-24, but we'll also show it's reflective in the 3-year model going to 25, 20, all the way to 26. So with that is the refund of the Lovejoy Scholars tuition, and then also the impact of our enrollment. So we're seeing lower enrollment than budget. We're currently at an average through 1026 at 4028. Our original budget had us at about 4105. As of 1026, though, we are at 4,032. And then also with the attendance, we're still assuming that we're going to get to about a 95 or 96.5%. Excuse me. Currently through 1026, we're at 97.03, which is slightly better than where we were through this point in time last year when we were at roughly 96.56%. So if we continue down this path, we could see a benefit, and we'll bring it forward to a future budget amendment to reflect that. And given that positions, our attendance and enrollment is lower, we did hold during the summer, hold positions. So we're going to carry those 4 contingency positions forward because we're also making the prediction that enrollment will continue to trend downward. The remaining bottom few from the one-time grant revenue all the way down to contingency, these are one-time benefits that we're going to see in 23-24 that are not going to carry forward into the future years. So I'm just going to go ahead and skip to the 5-year financial model. So this is reflective based off of the final audit that we saw for this current year. This is exclusive of the student nutrition. This also doesn't factor in any indirect that we would be receiving from student nutrition. We will incorporate that in the future projections. So here we're seeing that in 24, we're bringing forward a deficit budget of the 665, 990. And then with the recurring hits and the decline in enrollment, we're seeing it. Oh, that's not the right one. It's this one. That was supposed to be hidden. Sorry. In this slide, we can see the enrollment going down at the same pace that it has been over the last few years, where we can see the deficit budget climbing all the way up to 4.5 million and down to 69 days of unbalanced there at the end.
Thomas, did you maybe want to explain what the difference between the two versions are?
Yep, absolutely. So this first slide that I was showing is it assumed that we had maintained the original projection, so that had we met the 4105, then we would be next year at 4018 and then 3857. This next slide here, the revised enrollment, this is showing that the same trajectory that we're going to continue to lose students going forward, that we're just advancing the current students to the next grade and then having the same number of kindergartens each year.
Is that no, not really tuition kids, but no transfer kids coming in?
This assumes no additional transfer kids coming in, is maintaining the existing ones that we have.
So for your consideration is the amendment to the budget, which is really back on slide 1, and then all those supporting projections that go behind it and the actual budget itself in the slide. Any questions for Thomas? If not, I'd consider a motion.
I move that we adopt this budget amendment number 1 as presented.
Second.
So moved. Julie McLaughlin, second. Marvin Bobo, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you. All right, item 15 is our legislative subcommittee update. Ms. McLaughlin.
Thank you. So yes, thank you very much. So we'll start with just as we've done in prior meetings, just a brief recap of what we've been working on related to the special session. We did author and adopt board legislative priorities for the special session. We authored and sent communication to both of our representative, Rep. Candy Noble and Senator Angela Paxton, to communicate Lovejoy ISD's legislative priorities. In addition, we authored and sent communication to our Lovejoy community with those same legislative priorities and also considerations for the special session. We are going to continue monitoring all the bills for potential impact to Lovejoy ISD. We have a few summarized here in the deck for you. So next, here are 3 Senate bills, and on the next slide, I'll do 1 House bill. There's many more, of course, that have been filed, but here are just a few for you. So back on the previous slide. So SB 1, well, I'll call it the voucher bill, allocates $500 million of taxpayer funds for an education savings account program. Provides $8,000 per student. So that has been passed out of the Senate. It is currently waiting to schedule a hearing on the House side. Next, we have SB 2. This is public education funding. It does increase the basic allotment by $75 a student, amongst some other things. I think we've discussed as a board before that there are some estimates out there with nonpartisan public education groups that would estimate that we would need between $900 and $1,100 per student increase just for districts to maintain their pre-COVID, pre-inflation purchasing power. So $75 is more than zero, but much less than that. And so this item was also voted out of the Senate. It has not been scheduled on the House side. There is some discussion that maybe it cannot advance because the governor's special session order did not provide room for public education funding. And then last on SB 29, this is intra-district public school transfers. You may remember this from the 88th session as SB 418. It was refiled. This one hasn't moved, but we do believe that they may be taking that same intra-district transfer, what I call open district borders, and placing that language in other Senate bills. So I do think we have to be mindful of that. And then next on the House side, this is a combo bill. It does have an education savings account component, and it also has some public education funding. It does have $30 increase, which is more than zero, but significantly less than what we need. This item has not been referred to committee, and again, because it has that public education component, we're not sure if it will move to have a hearing or be allowed to be considered by the governor. Questions on this? Okay, next up. So our elected representatives, Senator Paxton and Candy Noble, just repeating their phone number and email address for you there again. I think it would be wonderful if they heard from Lovejoy constituents as to what was important to us and to ensure that they understand the level of support for the Lovejoy legislative priorities. Next, again, just for reference, these are the House Public Education Committee members. So on the prior slides, we talked about how the bills had advanced from the Senate that will go into House Pub Ed. And so these would be the representatives that would have a vote on that in the Texas House. Next. Yeah, so for this slide, we'll be taking a little bit of a reference back to the 88th session. You may recall that we discussed during our April board meeting the Herrero Amendment. And so of course, the main duty of the Texas House is to pass a budget bill. And during that conversation, there was an amendment posed on the House floor. It was called the Herrero Amendment. And what it said, and I'm going to very much summarize here, is that it would prohibit the use of taxpayer funds for private education. And so if you voted yes, then you would agree that that should not be allowed usage of our budget dollars. If you voted no, then you would think that that was okay to use those funds for private education. So just to kind of lay the land of the House today, we have, and we pulled this off the website, so I'll say roughly 85 Republicans, 64 Democrats, and 1 vacancy. And so just by the numbers, one party would certainly have the ability to pass legislation that aligns with their platform. But for the Herrero amendment, we noted that 61 no votes, meaning we think it's okay to use taxpayer funds for private education, 24 yes votes, meaning it's not okay. And so of those 24 yes votes, those are listed there with their district location and phone number for anyone that might want to reach out to them. And so effectively, those 24 Republicans that voted for that amendment are effectively indicating that they would not be supportive of a voucher education savings account program. If they were maybe not taking that position, then the Republican platform would have the votes to pass that, probably already would have. And that is what we had for you today.
Any questions for Julie or the Legislative Subcommittee? Great job. Thank you for the update. We appreciate that. The Herrero names there are important also for our community to understand that keeping those folks on board with their original position could be very important to the future of public education in our state. And so I'm grateful for that information. Good job. Next would be item 16, discuss and a possible action on a resolution to cast a ballot for the Colin Cad Board of Directors. Ms. Cordell.
Board, this evening, we offer this information to you for your discussion and possible action. The Collins Central Appraisal District is governed by a board of directors, and you, as a board of trustees, are allotted 66 votes by the Collins Central Appraisal Districts for those positions. That is included in your board book for your reference. Those 66 votes can be all allotted to one individual candidate or can be spread among however many candidates you would like to nominate. Also included is a resolution for your review in the event that you would like to make in the event that you would like to cast your ballot.
So questions, comments? City of Lucas nominated Scott Sperling. He's a resident of Fairview. The role of this individual is to hear and be on a board to help out with protests for public tax matters. And so my thought is that our best interest would be served by someone who resides in our district. We have 66 votes to cast, and I would appeal that casting those 66 votes to support Mr. Sperling would be in our best interest and our citizens. Only candidate in our district.
Those are included in your yellow folder for your reference.
Then you might consider such.
I make a motion to support the local candidate for us with the 66 votes.
So move, Mark.
Second.
Second, Marvin. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much. Item 17 is our draft 24-25 district calendar. Dr. Tinsley.
Good overwhelming support there.
Okay, so you have a copy of the calendar there, and that I'm going to reference as I walk through this. Anna mentioned, we did try to balance the semesters. So this draft reflects 80 the first semester, 84 days the second semester. It has school starting on August the 8th, and the last day of school is May the 23rd. So our students would be out. They would not be returning after Memorial Weekend. Graduation is scheduled for May the 24th. What you'll see is very similar to this year's calendar at the beginning of the year, where we have professional development days. And you'll see that we are starting school on a Thursday. This year we started on a Wednesday. The feedback we received from our teachers was overwhelmingly positive. They thought that having that first few days to kind of get into routines and structures, they were ready to hit the ground running the following. And it was just the shorter first week seemed to help as well. You'll also see where, as Anna mentioned, how we tried to spread out some of the staff and student holidays. Some of the teacher planning days, several of them actually back up to a holiday or to a break, hoping that will help with attendance. And then we did this year, we have professional development days on November the 16th, and then a teacher planning day on the 17th. Feedback we were receiving is that some of the information that our teachers are needing is prior to that time. So we thought sometimes you're getting an overload of information as we start the school year, giving them time to implement, and then coming back in September after Labor Day there, and then also in October to kind of scaffold that learning a little bit more for our teachers as well too. Some of the feedback we received from the groups was that we did a teacher survey with our staff on the planning days. We've only had 2 thus far, but overwhelmingly we had it's about a 75% return rate on our survey, which is a great return rate. On our teachers, it was about 96% overwhelmingly really did appreciate the planning days. So, and remember, that was the target group that we were aiming for with our teacher planning days. Also, in addition to this, we received some feedback from some of our parents. One of the drafts that we were sharing, or one draft that we shared, it had planning days or professional development days on 4 Fridays during the fall season. And so that was brought forth. And so we made some adjustments with that. So we did not have so many days, because that does interfere with our Friday night activities and could impact our attendance and our ticket sales as well too, plus participation, by our community. So those are some things that I think we would lift up. You also are going to see the bad weather days we've built into the calendar that we do. We have one in March and we have one in April. And then we also have staff exchange days that this year it's the same as it was during fall break. It was the first Monday of fall break. That's the day we have that compliance training that our staff completes online. That's what the 6 hours, so they exchanged it for that. And then there's another exchange day in March, and those are just for some of those extra hours of training that they're attending. So are there any, and this calendar reflects 187 staff days and 164 student days, which is the same as this current school year.
I've got one question. I probably wouldn't have noticed this, but since Halloween is tomorrow and the kids are planning on lots of activities in the evening and excited about not having school the following day, in October, we have the whole week off from the 14th to the 18th. And then we come back and have Monday, Tuesday off as well. If there's any way they could push one of those days to November 1st after Halloween. I know it is a Friday, but.
Yeah, that was actually one of the days we did have a teacher planning day, and that was some of the feedback that we did receive from one of the parent groups, the focus groups that we got in front of on this. And the problem with that is that we were trying to spread it out a little bit more because if you'll look at this calendar, the kids come back on the 23rd of October, and then then we would have another day off on November the 1st as well too. So not a whole lot of time back. So that was the tricky part with this, is that we were trying to decrease the number of Friday games. And this year, November 1st didn't fall on a Friday, where next year it does. So we did keep that in mind, and that was some feedback that we had last year from our community on the day after Halloween. So what we did with that day, we did not have a teacher planning day in September on the first calendar we were working on. So that is kind of a heavy period from after Labor Day through fall break for our teachers. It's just a lot. We're finishing up testing. The first 9 weeks is ending. We're just getting into the groove of things. So that is always October and late September are always heavy periods of the year. So we moved that November 1st day to September the 23rd. So November would be the only day month that we would not have a teacher planning day.
I think it's hard on when you have 2 working parents and you have 7 days off in a row in October.
What additional opportunities would parents have to provide feedback on the calendar?
Well, traditionally, it has not been. We have not sent out surveys. Last year, the reason that we had some surveys sent out is because we were making such significant change with our teacher planning days. So that was the intent for that reason. So what we did ensure that we were getting some parent voice through our district improvement team with their parent representatives, and also with the PTO accounts roundtable group is where we also shared this as well. And then, of course, our staff members, our teacher superintendent council, that can involve staff members, and then also our principals, of course, were involved in this, and district improvement team involves staff members as well. So I'm going to let Anna share a little bit more about the student attendance accounting handbook and how it impacts these minutes, and then we'll share with you kind of on our timeline on what we're thinking as far as bringing forth the calendar for adoption by the board.
Well, the fall has become a daily read for me, I think. So just wanted to bring this to your attention. Remember, it was released September 22nd. And as we were looking at minutes and going through that information, it's around 200 pages long. We discovered that our CTE courses at the high school and of course at the middle school have to be 45 minutes. And there was a change in the wording on it. And basically what it said, if you look, it's new language, and it clarified the requirements for shortened schedule, like pep rallies and early release days like that, where it was an average of 45 minutes. Well, then the wording was changed to receive CTE weighted funding. Courses must ensure that the average course length for the calendar year is at least 45 minutes. So we started averaging them, and we realized during Leopard Friday and some of those days, we missed some minutes. So we missed in a couple of classes 65 minutes, in one course only 15 minutes. And in order to make up that time, we need to redo the high school schedule, the Bell schedule, to do that for the first semester. So we would have at least 45 minutes, because from what we understand, they round that number down. Some of them were as close as like 44.38 minutes there. So what we decided is, after working with Dr. Zambezi, is that we would, starting November 9th, we would have intervention time before and after school, and not have leopard time from November 9th to the end of the school year. And then that way there would be, to the end of the semester, to the end of this first semester. And then that way there would be 50-minute classes, and we could make up the 65 minutes that we missed in one class. We would go back in January, where there'd be 45-minute classes starting in January, and there's not as many pep rallies, early releases, those types of things, and so we would have 45-minute classes and meet the minimum requirement. Questions about that?
So this seems like yet another present inside the student attendance handbook that was released after school started.
Right.
It just appears that it would be very challenging for districts to implement the guidance that we're required to implement if we don't find out until October of each year.
And we had a lot of conversation, and I know our superintendent, Katie Cordell, was involved. We talked to Region 10, we've talked to lots of people, because there was much more, the language in it actually, they've taken some of it out, where it's a little bit more generous than it was when it first started. But it did take some conversation to see what we needed to get those 45 minutes.
It is challenging that these changes are not finalized in advance of the school year. On this one, we did have more advance notice that a change was coming. We were very concerned, as were many other districts, when we first saw the language, but we were very aware of it and staying very close to it. Then we received reassurance that because of the concern that the change wasn't going to be to the degree that it ended up being, that all was fine, and that we were in good shape. So we moved forward with our schedule as developed. And then it was not until we got into the school year that the discussion began again that no, it was going to be changed. There was a high level of concern that the adjustment was going to be so significant that we would have to do something more significant to our schedule. Thankfully, that was adjusted again and finalized in the format that you see. And thankfully, we have a solution whereby we do not have to affect our school start and end day or end time for the day, nor have to do anything in regard to adding school days. So we're thankful that we have a viable solution that only removes leopard time for a brief period.
I appreciate that that was challenging, and I appreciate the transparency for parents to understand kind of the box that you're trying to work within as to why the changes are being made. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
So this is a discussion item tonight. Any further questions, comments on the district calendar? Thank you very much. Item 18 is discussion and possible action on Senate Bill 763 resolution.
Our new, I'm not working it well. Sorry.
While we're waiting, just a little update. Texas is up 3-0. Not that anybody's concerned about that.
Okay, got it. Hey, Roderick, it's not in there. It's the PowerPoint on this. It's a cabinet. It wasn't the presentation though. Let me see. Right here. Okay, I'll speak to it. There is a presentation on it. So it's to discuss the possible action on Senate Bill 763 and a resolution we want to bring forward. So Texas Education Code 23.001 permits school districts to employ or accept as a volunteer or chaplain to provide support and services for our students. And so there was part of Senate Bill 763 this year that was passed by the 88th Texas Legislature that requires the board to take a record vote between September 1st, 2023 and March 1st, 2024 on whether to adopt a policy authorizing a cabinet of the district to employ or accept as a volunteer a chaplain under Education Code 23. So what the administration is recommending is that there have been some letters sent by organizations with chaplains that are not in favor of this. We also feel like we have our school counselors and people trained in our buildings that can provide this support for our students. So what we are recommending is that the board adopt a resolution that we not accept or volunteers or employed chaplains to provide services for our students.
So my understanding is this is to have chaplains serve in the capacity of a school counselor, correct?
Correct.
So I guess challenge would be, and I guess consistent with the letter received from the chaplains, that I haven't read, but I've heard attestation to, is that they don't feel qualified to serve in that capacity. And I would, based on the specific nature of how we have our counselors function in their roles, I can't see how it'd like to be speaking a foreign language to try to come in and conduct themselves as a counselor in our systems. I do, however, appreciate and as much as anybody value the services of a chaplain to support our students in a volunteer capacity to work within our schools. So encourage that. But I can't see how they would function as the role of a counselor, which is a very much a full-time job and a profession within itself.
I'm in favor of the resolution as it's presented. I think at least one of the original premises for drafting this bill was that there was certain areas of the state that were struggling to hire. And I would think at least as of today, we do not, thankfully, have the level of challenges to hire counselors. And our counselors fill a wide range of duties, aside from just supporting mental health. I know I probably couldn't even list all of the things that they're responsible to do. And I think here in Lovejoy, we have a high level of training, certification, and experience for the educators in our district. So I'd be supportive of it as it's presented.
Was that a motion, Julie? Any other discussion?
Yeah, I support this too, and so I move that we adopt this resolution as written.
So moved, Marvin Bobo. Second, Jason James. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. All right, cabinet reports, item 19.
Okay, I'm up again. I don't know if you recall, but last fall, about the same time, we had a group of principals and some of our central office leaders that attended Deloitte University host a Courageous Principals Training Institute. And so it's here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. So it's very convenient for our staff to attend. The training is designed to really equip our school leaders at the district and campus level to be effective school leaders, and at a very, very discount rate that Deloitte employees come in and facilitate the training. They volunteer to do this. It's over a weekend period where our team goes for about 2.5 days. And we're able to do training together. We're able to network with other principals across the nation and hone in on our skills and deal with some real life problems or challenges that we're experiencing in our jobs. So this year, we took 27 district and campus leaders, a big group, and those who attended last year were eligible for Courageous Principals 2. So it's a different level that they were engaged in. And then those who had been for the first time, we had attend the level 1. So again, it was just time for some fellowship. It was time for networking, but it was also a great opportunity for learning. The feedback we received back from this from our leaders is incredible. And again, we are very fortunate that we are nearby to where we can really minimize the cost. There are principals and district leaders that are traveling from across the country that come to Deloitte. So, and also it's not bad with the facility and the way that they feed us and take care of us too, and really feel like professionals. So we just appreciated the opportunity to take another group again. Thank you, Thomas. Okay.
Okay, good evening. So real quick, as far as kind of the finance updates, very minimal tax collections in the month of September, which is expected as we wrap up the 2022 tax collection year and move into the 2023 tax year. We also have a real healthy cash balance as of right now. We have 133 days of cash on hand in the general fund. Moving forward, just wanted to show the the continued benefit of the teacher planning days for our budget assistants. So on September 29th, we brought our budget assistants here to the Red Building to have professional development. We reviewed our different processes with them. Not only did we review the process and have some professional development, we also used this as an opportunity for collaboration with our budget assistants. They're the ones that are in the mix in the day-to-day. They would be able to provide valuable feedback on how we as a department can be better and can be more efficient. So it was a very productive time with them to identify some areas where we can be more efficient. So we're going to be taking back some things that we learned during this meeting to improve our processes, such as we have a lot of forms that we ask them to fill out for different things. We want to push away from the papers and the forms and move it more to electronic forms for them and develop workflows. So we'll be working on that this spring to do that. And then also bringing ideas on our current ERP and our current procurement process. There's just a lot of work that they have to do to go into one website to find different supplies that they want to purchase, then to come into our accounting software and enter them all in, where we can easily try to look at different punch-out systems for them that will streamline a lot of the processes. So it was a great day of learning and a great day of collaboration on that day. As far as student nutrition is concerned, when we look at year-to-date through the end of September, we can see in the current year we're slightly higher than where we were last year and 2 years ago. This is promising considering we did not have a rate increase in our a la carte sales or even in our meals, and we have lower enrollment. So it does show that we're having a little bit more participation in the a la carte. We are seeing slightly lower participation rates in the meals. That's mainly due to the high school. The meals are holding steady at our intermediate schools. So as we heard Carl say that our student nutrition fund balance was slightly higher than the 90 days required. We did have a plan in place immediately that Matt did submit. We did approve that plan back in the August board meeting for the new equipment. Here are just some updates on, we did receive the equipment and they were installed at Puster and at the high school during the fall break. So here you can see them taking out the old dishwasher and then replacing it with the brand new dishwasher here at Puster. And then we also have the new deck ovens and steamer. You can see the excitement from our wonderful kitchen staff there of the new equipment. And then the old beat up dishwasher there at the high school. And now we have the new one. We definitely did. It definitely looks good. So then here's the staff celebrating the new deck ovens and the ice machine at the high school. We still have the Sloan Creek equipment coming in. Unfortunately, during the fall break, they tried to install the dishwasher and realized they had ordered the wrong one and it didn't fit, so they had to put back in the old one. We did receive the new dishwasher, which will be installed November 17th during the teacher planning day. We also have the new deck oven and ice machine that will be installed November 1st at Sloan Creek.
Thomas, can you clarify where the money goes from the concessions of the football game?
The concession is handled by the football boosters, I believe. So all the money that comes in from the.
So when we see people put on Facebook that they're charging way too much for water, they should probably talk to the booster clubs and not us.
Kevin, is that accurate?
Okay, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about our guest educators. This is something in our department that we want to do to support our teachers, and just we look at data and numbers. Last year we had 101 guest educators. We had 32 either resign or retire. However, out at 101, 3 were hires. We hired 3 of them, and this year we already have 115. So even though we lost some, we really focused on getting more guest educators in there, getting them hired quicker, and getting them on board. In fact, there were several days that we had 100% fill rates in our district, so we're super excited about. We also have, of course, continued the training. We have 54 of those 115 that have special education training, where they've come in and they've worked with our special education coordinators and received training. And if you'll recall, they get $120 if they sub in a special ed para position or a teacher position. And so we continue that. We had 22 come in to stop the bleed, and Casey did some of that training for us, and then 58 for in-person safety and security training. And they love the engagement. It's nice to see them, and we get to connect with them. Many of them are retired educators, and it's great to see them back in our schools. We also looked at fill rates, just kind of where we were last year and where we were this year, and we did see significant improvement, 73% to 77% this year. September went up also in October, and I will tell y'all, usually October is the worst month. October and February, just from doing this for many years, that's when we have, that's when people get in and start getting sick and tired and those types of things. But our fill rates were really good. We do have a little. We have less absenteeism, which I think also helps. So maybe our teacher planning days are making an impact there. Yes, sir.
Hey, can you explain the benefit of having a higher fill rate for the school district?
Yes.
What that really means?
What that really means. Basically, that means that we have an educator in the classroom. We're not splitting classes. We're leaving those smaller class sizes, and we have a teacher in the classroom filling, teaching, in that classroom. Something else I do also want to mention that probably helps is our teacher residents. Some of them sub. Remember, we have 13 of them right now, and they also are able to sub. We pay them $20,000 for their here 2 semesters, and it's kind of like student teaching back years and years ago where we didn't get paid. They get paid to do that, and so they also help. They're mainly at our elementary campuses. We have 2 at Willow and 1 at Slum Creek, but all of that really is helping us grow our fill rates and our guest educator fill rates there. So pretty excited about that. We just hope it continues. And I also looked at our special education teacher fill rates because they're usually the lowest in the district. And once again, I was pleasantly surprised as we pulled this information because we are seeing improvement there. Still not where we want to be, but I do feel like we're making progress. And I think part of that is because we're actively seeking people, like when they show an interest and getting them onboarded quickly. I mean, like one day, I think I approved maybe 12. The department is, the process has, we've improved on some of the systems and processes to get them in there faster and get them started working quicker. Yes, ma'am, did you have a question? Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Taylor. I just want to give you an update on where we are in the student services world right now. We're moving from our fall sports into our winter sports, and then Lovejoy. What that means is a trip for our cross-country team to the state meet down in Round Rock, which is going to be Friday morning. Girls run at 8:30, boys run at 9:10, and we are optimistic on what the outcomes of those will be. So we'll give some updates as soon as our runners cross the finish line. Not in that capacity, but yes. Another transition that we make, or what this time of year means, is that our volleyball begins its playoff run, and that hopefully it's going to be a deep playoff run. We're a really strong volleyball team this year. Our first playoff game. When we created this slide last week, we were going to be playing at Dallas Bryan Adams High School. That's changed. We're still playing against Lancaster High School, but that is now at Mesquite High School, same time, 6:30 tomorrow night on Halloween. They'll be playing. So our team tennis advanced to the third round of the playoffs. Coach Denham did a great job this year with our tennis team. They had a strong run, had a great season. They finished up their season as well. A couple more things I want to mention is our football team finishes up district this Thursday against Melissa. Melissa's the #1 team in the state. That'll be a really good game. A lot of media. It's going to be televised. I want to say, is it CW33, I think? So it'll be televised if you want to go. Do not want to go out and bear the wind and cold. It'll be on television. Our girls and boys basketball season has also begun too. So it's again, transitioning from fall to winter, but fall is not quite over, and we're going to extend those seasons as long as we can. And finally, our fine arts update. Our marching band season is wrapped up. We competed in the Bands of America performance on October 14th. They did a fantastic job. They were awarded the AA champions and also awarded the outstanding music and general effect in that competition. So it's been really fun. Just watching all of our programs, watching all of our kids compete and doing the things that they love with a lot of coaches and a lot of directors that enjoy spending time with them and give them the opportunity to succeed.
Good evening, Board, Superintendent Cordell, President Owen. I just have a real quick update within our district support services, just to highlight a few things that have happened between now and the last time that we met together. Over in our maintenance and grounds department, the guys were out working on some signage updates in and around the high school campus. This is back before we got the rain, so the ground was pretty tough. So you'll see them, they were trying to soften the ground up a little bit before they put the auger down. This is Jason. Jason's been out working on some lighting around our parking lots. We've got several opportunities there to get some of our parking lot lighting up and back functional. And then back in September, the board approved a couple of HVAC system replacements. One was over at the transportation department. The other one was over at the grounds department. And this is a shot of that unit over in transportation. It was a 17-year-old unit. And as you can see, it had reached the end of life. This is that replacement unit. So you can take a look at that. Looks like it's probably heating and cooling much better than the one that came out. These are the outside units. That left one right there is the one that was pulled out. Again, end of life, and that one there on the right was its replacement. So there's quite a change. Also with efficiency from one unit over to the next, just by way of technology. Our custodial team had the opportunity during fall break. You know, we've really started, I feel like, having some conversation around recycling as a district. The green team has been out hitting the ground hard. You've seen them at the football games, out trying to help remind spectators on trash versus recycling material. And so during that fall break, they took a field trip over to Republic Services. They have a recycling facility in Plano. And so some of our custodians were able to go over and kind of see where does that recycled material go, and just kind of reiterate the importance of making that separation whenever they do their daily pickup. And this was a training that our supervisor Rigo was able to provide during that week as well to our custodial team. In safety and security, this is a shot. You'll see Casey. Casey likes to highlight himself anytime he gets the chance. No, that's not at all the case. But Casey has done a really outstanding job over the past 6 weeks. He's worked with McKinney first responders, Allen, Fairview, Lucas, Collin County, and brought them into our campuses to make sure that their two-way radio systems work when they do need to come and respond within the district. And so he's personally gone out, met them, walked them through the campuses to work and test their systems. All of those systems tested out the way that we would like for them to, so they were able to make contact. This is just a shot of a new application that we're going to use and have kind of started easing into for our emergency management system here in the district. It's called Raptor. It's part of an application that works with our visitor management system that we already utilize at our campuses. And what this does is it gives our teachers and staff at the campuses the ability to initiate protocols, to get alerts whenever there is a protocol, an emergency protocol initiated, all the way through to a reunification, whether it be a whole site evacuation and taking attendance, or if we had to do a total site evacuation and reunify students with parents. It has an automated way to help assist campuses and the district in that function. And so Casey has gone out and done some trainer of trainers with our marshals and assistant principals. They have turned around and started training their staffs, and they're utilizing that now with their drilling schedule. And then you can see on September the 29th, which was one of those extended planning days, the Marshall team had the opportunity to go out to the Fairview training facility and work on breaching. And then they also worked on some active shooter response training at the old Lovejoy Elementary School admin office area. And then finally, this is a shot of the Emergency Operations Center that the Marshall program put together over at the high school during homecoming. And so you can see Regan in there in the EOC monitoring the different surveillance cameras there in and around the campus during homecoming. That's, again, just a little bit of the things that the department's been working through since our last meeting together. I would love to answer any questions that you may have.
Are we adding any additional security or cameras for the high school parking lot?
So that is definitely one of the items that we've got on our to think through list. We know that district-wide, there's some opportunity for not only camera upgrades, but some additions. And that's one of the areas that we've also been looking at is out there in that parking lot for obvious reasons, but prior to the incident that occurred. Yeah, thank you.
All right. Item 20, Ms. Cordell.
Yes, thank you. I would just like to thank our staff, our teachers, our campus administrators, and our staff for everything that they are doing to serve our students. There are incredible things happening in Lovejoy ISD for kids, and that is because of the collective effort of everybody working so hard on their behalf. And then, of course, wanted to talk about sending our well wishes and good luck to our volleyball team, our football team, and of course our cross-country team. I'll be down in Round Rock with them on Friday morning, watching them run really fast.
Awesome, awesome. Any public comments related to non-agenda items this evening? All right. With that, we would be adjourned.